Hello Dream Team, and welcome to video 2 in the VISTA process. So as you'll remember, the VISTA process is your 5 steps to figuring out the perfect Africa focused business for you. And we are on step 1, vision. Now, as you will know, vision is all about creating the business that excites and fulfills you. And that starts with knowing who you are and what you want. And we kicked off this process earlier in the week by looking at what your values are. Now, if you'll remember, we looked at your core values, which are your non-negotiable belief system that guides your preferences, behaviours and actions. We looked at a whole long list of what those values might be to help you determine your top 5 core values. I hope you found that exercise useful. Remember, your values aren't selected. They are discovered. They're already in existence. They're already set. You can't wish them or decide that you want to pick personal values that sound good based on your desired self-image. If you really want to know what powers you, what motivates you, how you can build a business that will continue to fulfill you, we have to be honest with ourselves and really take the time to think about who we authentically are and what our core values, the things that truly do matter to us, are. Not worry about judgment, not worry about how that might look to others or what things should be, but accept them as they are. Because as we are perfect already. We're unique and we're uniquely placed to do what we are supposed to do in the world. I'll stop there, but just really want you to get a sense of how important knowing your values are. But we've covered that, so for now we're going to move on to step 2 and 3. Step 2, of course, being your goals. Here we want you to set yourself up for success by getting real clarity on not just the vision that you have for your own life, what you want your personal life to look like, but also what you want for your business, what you want for the world. And that's where we get to the vision statement, and we will put down in concrete terms what it is that you want to do in the world with your business, the big problems that you want to solve. We know already, by virtue of you being in this group, you have an Africa-focused vision, and we know that there are so many problems that need solving on the continent. So, we've got a lot to pick from. But let's get started and dive straight into looking at your goals. So, this I want you to play around with. I want us to have a little bit of fun here. And start off with imagining yourself living your very best life in 10 years' time. Now, if that's too far for you, you can go for 5 years. But what I want you to do is to really imagine what you are doing, what that really looks like. What can you see around you? Put yourself in your shoes 5 to 10 years from now, living the ideal life that you envisage for yourself. Imagine yourself waking up. What do you see? Is there someone next to you? What does your room look like? Can you see out a window? What do you see out that window? Is it a city skyline? Is it a lovely green lush countryside? Is it a forest? Is it the ocean? Where are you? In what city? Country? On what continent? And where do you live in that city? Who else do you live with? When you get out of bed and head to the shower, what is it that you're looking forward to doing that day? Where will you be going? Will you work at home, or do you work from an office? How much do you earn? And who do you work with? Do you have a small team, or is it a really large team? Do you manage day-to-day operations, or do you spend your time sitting in your home office, taking the occasional call and doing more leisure activity? What are you known for in your industry, in your community? Where do you go on holiday? How do you holiday? What do you do for fun? Really think about what that life looks like and take your time with it. You know, it might be that you don't have all the answers to those questions right now, which is absolutely fine. You might need to think about it a bit more. But what I want you to do really is to get yourself breathing, feeling, thinking as though you're in that position already, because that will help us to determine what you need to do in order to get there and what your business needs to do for you. Whether that's bringing in a certain amount of income, giving you a certain amount of freedom, all of these things come from first knowing what it is you want to achieve, what you want your life to look like. So once you've done that exercise, the next step then is to think about working backwards from that vision to set goals which are going to help you to realize it. Now, obviously, we've set a long-term vision here. The goals that you set to reach it will, of course, be some long-term goals, but you'll need to break those down into mini short-term, medium-term goals so that you're able to move and progress in the right direction, bit by bit, step by step. And it's important that these goals are always what we've come to know as SMART goals. I'm not sure who came up with that, but it's a great way of ensuring that our goals truly are set up or will truly set us up to succeed, because they're sufficiently specific and measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And when you're thinking about setting these goals, start off with the long-term ones and then break them down from there. And to give you a little bit of assistance with coming up with them, I've put on the slide here a few of the key areas in which I would expect to see you to have some goals. Those areas are family, business or career, finances, and include within the finances any investments you have, health and fitness, your work-life balance, and by that I just mean how you spend your time, social life, your friends, what you like to do for fun and recreation, and by that, of course, yes, I mean what you want to do for fun as well, but more importantly than that, the things that you do specifically for recreation, so adventures, holidays. One of mine is to go around the world following the F1 circuit. It's something that my husband has wanted for a long time, and I now want it too. Then we've got spirituality, and then finally contribution, which is all about your contribution to society. What is it that you want to contribute? What mark do you want to leave? And then, of course, when you are coming up with these goals, it's important that you make sure that they align with your values. And that means you only set goals that you truly desire. And this is where knowing your values is really helpful, because it will easily help you to see whether or not a goal really is right for you, or whether it's a goal that you've put in there because it's perhaps an expectation that you have for yourself or society has for you, but it's not something that truly matters to you. Okay, so what you will find in the download section of this group is, or the file section I should say, is a worksheet on which you can write out what those goals are, as well as your 5 core values and your vision statement, which we're coming to next. But it's a great way for you to just set out in writing what your long-term goals in each of these areas are, and then in your own time start working on chunking down those goals into the mini goals that you will need to achieve in order to achieve the long-term goal. So you may be asking me, what does SMART goals mean? And here we're just going to a bit more detail as to what I mean by SMART goals. So the S in SMART stands for specific, and this means that you need to be really clear about what you want and state it with clarity, such that anyone else reading that goal would be able to understand what you want to achieve. Being vague or using generic terms does not help here. Next, measurable. And that's making sure that your goal is capable of being measured. And to do that, you need to attach some sort of numeric value to it. It's not, I want to make more money. It's, I want to make £100,000 this year. It's not, I want to lose weight. It's, I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 months, and so on. Next is achievable. And this simply just means that your goals should be within your power to achieve. Now, of course, miracles can happen, but they're not something that we have any control over. So setting goals that are realistic for where you are and what is achievable for you is important. Not because we're trying to dampen down your dreams. Of course, we should all aim high and have high targets in every area of our life. But the point is that for a goal to be really effective, we need to feel as though it's achievable, so that we don't get disappointed and unmotivated should things not quite work out the way we want them to. Next is relevant, and this is all about, again, having an eye on your values and what is relevant for you as an individual, and not society as a whole or anyone else's view of what is right and good, so that any goals that you set are actually moving you in the right direction. And finally, you need to make sure that your goals are time bound, which simply means setting a deadline for the achievement of the goal. Now, we all know what deadlines do to us. They really motivate us to get moving, to take action, to take big steps when necessary. So it's important that you have that motivating factor, a deadline, to help you ensure the goal is actually achieved. The next slide shows you what this might look like in practice. So let's say that your goal is that I want my business to be more successful. Now, these are the steps that we would go through to make sure that that goal is a SMART goal and therefore as achievable as possible. So step one, we make it specific. And that means we actually get into the nitty-gritty of what successful means to us. In this case, it's I want to increase the monthly revenue of my business. Step two is to make it measurable. So we said we want to increase the monthly revenue, but that's incredibly vague. Does that mean we want to make an extra $5, $50, $5 million? So by putting in a figure, we make it measurable. Here, our example is I want to increase the monthly revenue of my business to $20,000. Step three, make it achievable. Now, this simply means that the goal that we set must be within the realms of possibility for us, within our own power to achieve. And it's important because we'll feel unmotivated if a goal just seems too unattainable. So here we've said I currently turn over $16,000 each month. I want to increase my revenue by 25%. So you'll see that the $20,000 revenue goal is actually a 25% increase on the current situation, which is, of course, achievable with the right level of work, commitment, and time. Next, we want to make the goal relevant. So here we say, I want to increase the monthly revenue of my business to $20,000 per month because this will allow me to hire a manager to scale up the business further and free up more of my time to spend on my other priorities. So here we can see that this person's values are clearly around building a large business, so they want to hire a team to help them scale it up further, but then also having more time on other priorities. Now that might be spending time with family, it might be spending time with friends, it might be spending time on a particular sport or hobby or some other thing, another business perhaps. But it's clear that the reason that the increase is needed is connected to the wider values, the wider goals and vision that this individual has. And then finally, to make sure it's smart, we need to make sure the goal is time bound. So now the final goal is I want to increase the monthly revenue of my business to $20,000 per month by December 2020, because that will allow me to hire a manager to scale up the business further and free up more of my time to spend on other priorities, including my family. So you can see the difference between the initial goal, I want my... Oh, I see I've typo there, forget the two, but I want my business to be more successful, through to what we have at the end, which is a SMART goal. So I hope that's a useful example for you of how you can really put some granularity in your goal to make sure that it is something that you are more likely to achieve. Right, next, the vision statement. So this one is where we look to the wider world and the big problem that you want to solve. I really want to encourage you to make a commitment to solve a more meaningful problem in the world. And I know that already, being Africa focused, this is probably something that is top of your mind. You want to solve problems that are going to lead to greater life chances, perhaps even save lives. And you don't really get any problems bigger than that. So on this slide here, you'll see some examples of vision statements for companies that you will be aware of. Airbnb, firstly, theirs is to help create a world where you can belong anywhere and where people can live in a place instead of just traveling to it. Now you can see that this goal is much wider than their business. It's not, we want people to buy Airbnb stays every time they visit a new country. It's more about the world that they want to see. They want to see a world where people can belong anywhere. We can travel anywhere in the world and instantly feel at home. We can connect with communities everywhere globally. And it's a great goal. And you can see that actually by having such a wide vision, there are a number of things that they could do to further that vision, not just the specific business that they're in now, but there may be other businesses that complement what they do that they may add in future to help them realize their wider vision. Tesla is a great example of this. Their vision is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. And I love this example because Elon Musk, in particular in his creation of the electric batteries in his cars, has spent a lot of time, money and effort on developing the technology to power them. But he recently announced that he was going to open up all of his intellectual property relating to the electric batteries for anyone else in the industry, in the automotive industry, to use. Now that is quite something. Being a lawyer, I'm obviously hyper aware of the importance of intellectual property, but I'm sure it's something that most of you, if not all of you, are aware of as well. A business like Tesla, which is highly technological, a lot of its value is held up in its IP, and typically companies will pay a lot of money to protect that IP so that they exclusively can use it and exploit it, increasing their value. They don't want their competitors to have their trade secrets normally. But in this case, Elon Musk, with a view to his wider vision, wanted to give his secrets away, because he realized that in order to really accelerate the transition of traditional motor vehicles to sustainable ones, for example, electric vehicles, he needed to help other automotive businesses develop their own technologies. And he could help them by giving them access to what he had already done. So it was all about the quickest possible route to realizing his vision, even if that meant sacrificing some of his own profit. So that's just a really great example of the vision being the key driver in a business. And then finally, I've put Strand Sahara's vision as it currently stands, which is to empower entrepreneurs on the continent and in the diaspora to build successful businesses that improve the lives and life chances of Africa's people all over the world. That is why we're in business. That is why I started Strand Sahara. It's also why I've started this particular group, because it also leads towards that vision. It's not about providing legal support, even though that's exactly what I do in Strand Sahara, but it's about empowering entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs to build successful businesses. And I hope that all of you in this group will go on to build, if you haven't already started building, businesses that are going to have a great impact on the lives of Africa's people, whether that's on the continent or elsewhere in the world. So on the next slide, I have got for you a list of the global goals. And this really is just to help trigger some thoughts in your own mind about your vision. Now, you'll see that these are big problems that need solving, and a lot of them are acute in many countries on the continent. So have a look through the list and think about which one leaps out of you. It may be more than one, but usually I have found in the past that business owners can align their own vision and their business to one or two of the global goals. In my case, I'm particularly aligned to number 8, which is about decent work and economic growth, because I want to empower entrepreneurs to build businesses which, of course, will improve the economy and also provide jobs for the growing population across Africa. I'm also quite aligned to number 16, which is peace and justice and strong institutions. Now, of course, that is where my legal expertise comes to play, and I would like to use that legal expertise to develop stronger institutions across Africa to help and to make sure that people are able to enforce their rights, whether that's in the business field or in the personal field. You know, making sure that we can enforce our rights and have clarity over what our rights are is all about creating trust within society, creating an environment where people can do business with each other, can contract with each other in a way that causes benefit for the whole economy. So that's your challenge for the rest of this week. I'd really like you to download the worksheet, to put in there the 5 core values that you've already come up with, to set out your long-term goals, and then finally to think about putting together your vision statement. Now, of course, these things may change over time, but we've got to start with something. So it's important for us to take this time now to really think about where we want to head, where we want to go with this business, what problems we want to solve, the life that we want it to give us, and the values that it needs to conform with in order to sustain us, fulfill us, and excite us. Right, that's it for today. I look forward to hearing your progress, and I will speak to you all again soon. Bye bye for now.